introduction.
So, and I'm going to throw a disclaimer out here, follow your local policies, procedures, and guidelines. But I'm going to go over some stuff on 21 Squad 5 at Beach Lake and what we have for MCI situations and sort of the process that we have set up. So, first off, if you arrive on scene, and hopefully there's two of us, come on over here, Billy. You come to the first compartment. There's a small bag, which is marked MCI boards, and a large bag. The first thing you need to grab out, I'm going to go to the ground with this. First thing you need to grab out is this, and this will be your command clipboard, your triage clipboard. And the first thing I'm going to do is say, hey, Billy, I'll assume command. I'm going to give Billy the triage 1, and I'm going to give him the triage vest, so he can put that on. And myself or somebody else will put the command vest on, and that's where we're going to start with 2 personnel. While he's going to triage, the command clipboard has a set of instructions right in the front, and basically what it's going to tell you to do is to grab this stuff here. So I'd hand this to the second person in the crew, and the one marked green, triage 2, I'll throw over my shoulder, and I'm going to tell Billy to go to the scene, which should be in front of the squad, and start telling anybody who can get up and walk to walk to the front of the squad. While they're doing that, or while he's doing that, I'm going to grab out this duffel bag. And whether it's dark or light out, I'm going to throw this green tarp out. I'm going to lay it out in front of the squad, as well as, if it's dark out, I'm going to go in this little bag here, and I'm going to find a green chem light. I'm going to break it and throw it on top of that, so wherever he's telling people to walk to, they can walk to. After he does that, and they start walking up to me, I'm going to be, if we're there by ourselves for a little bit, and there's only 2 of us, as they walk up, I'm going to start by opening this pouch, and they're all set up as green tags. I'm going to pick the most responsible individual of them and tell them to start passing out these green tags. Once he passes them all out, I'm going to count up, and I'm going to put it on this tally card, how many green tags we have. Okay? Simultaneously, I'm going to grab out this triage clipboard, and in the triage clipboard is a bunch of instructions on how to do triage, as well as a card for me to mark down my tallies on. Once I get the green tally, I can mark that on there and put the location, front of squad, wherever we're at. Okay? Once we get somebody additional in, I can then say, you know what? You are now the transport officer. So I will hand them the transport vest and pull out the transport clipboard and tell that transport officer their first responsibility is open this, and there's some instructions in the front of it. But after those instructions, I'm going to tell them their first responsibility is to call each one of those numbers and get a tally of how many red, yellow, and green tags each one of them can handle. Okay?
Wayne County to 716.
Once he does that, he'll report back to myself or whoever is EMS command at that time. Let them know basically what hospital can handle what. Okay? Billy took triage 2.
Tip 4. It's going to be faster.
And we're going to cut to that portion in a separate video. But once he gets down there, and I'll go over, you know, how we run through that. Once he gets down there, he will mark down how many yellow tags, how many red tags he has, and adult and ped. He'll separate them. Okay. Once he fills this up with how many yellows and reds he has, he'll either radio up or come back to the command post and tell the incident commander how many reds, how many yellows he has. Okay. So we'll have a count for reds, yellows, greens. We can call and update the communications center. And once we have that count, we can more accurately request more transport assets as needed. So while that's all going on, there's a red and yellow tarp, which will be set up right here next to the squad. Okay, as well as in this bag here, which is labeled triage support, or boundary tapes we can use. If we have trees, if we're in the woods, we can use those to go around that. If we have multiple apparatus, we can go around the mirrors of the apparatus and make up different boundaries, as well as 20 additional MCI tags. Okay. At the same time, we'll open this up. Ooh, look at that, collar's falling out. And all this stuff will start getting put between the yellow and the red tarp. Right here we have a mobile radio head, and this is set up as a whiteboard. This is set up as a whiteboard. The front of this has dry erase markers, tons of them in there. We're going to start using this as our command post, writing down our tally numbers, all that, as well as as we get information in from the transport officer. Once we have enough staff, we can then divvy it out. The transport officer can assign a staging officer to start staging ambulances based on the traffic coming in and out, and the EMS command can interact with the fire incident command and determine what might need to happen from the fire side, like we request for LZ, stuff like that. So that's basically it in a nutshell for the triage portion. Now the transport portion, well, let me go back to triage real quick. Once we unload this stuff here, and there's 2 quick litters, 2 mega movers, 2 mega mover seats, a sked, a couple of backboards, Stokes here, Stokes on there, that we can move patients up from the incident area up to, this will be technically the transport area / treatment area in a smaller incident. Then at that point, once they start getting moved up here, we can start filling out tag numbers with last name, first name, their primary complaint, as well as we can, we'll start filling out the information on the tags as we have personnel and time. But more importantly, we want to capture patient data on this so we know how many patients we have. If somebody comes and says so-and-so went where, this is going to be where that chain of custody starts, is with the triage. Okay, once we start getting transport assets in, the transport officer, when he comes up to either here or a separate area if it's needed, he's going to know how many beds each facility has, reds, yellows, and greens, and we have blank sheets for that. But as he starts determining, or she starts determining who's going to go where and what unit's going to take them, you start putting tag numbers, last name, their sex, age, if they're a red, yellow, green, or a black tag, their primary complaint, what unit's taking them, what level of care that unit is, and what hospital they're going to. As they mark that off there, they'll go back to their information sheet that they were gathering, total numbers of what each facility can do, and they'll put a tick mark in the appropriate column for what facility they're sending the patients to. There is a blank one of these forms in here in case we have to stretch out to New York hospitals and hospitals outside this area. But the transportation officer will basically track as patients leave this area and get put on an ambulance on that form in the transportation sector log. If he does have a staging officer assigned, there's a resource list for the staging officer so he can list what units came, when they were used, when they came back. Okay, it was a larger incident. There's blanks of all these forms sitting in each clipboard, as well as if it's a very large incident and this turns into a treatment area, or if we're just setting up rehab, we have a treatment center log. So as the patients come up here, start gathering tag info as they come into the treatment sector, and then the transfer. So triage will get information on them. If they're going to a separate treatment sector, or even they're staying here and there's a treatment officer, they'll log what they're doing on here. When transportation takes them and puts them on an ambulance, they'll log them on their sheet. So we'll have recepted sectors in those larger incidents, like 15 or more people. If it's just 15 or less than 15 people, we could probably get away with just utilizing command, triage, transport, and staging. Not have to set up a treatment sector. But the treatment sector per se will be this triage staging area. So triage will triage a patient, send them up here where all the equipment will be staged to be used as needed, and then the transport officer will decide red tag's going, okay, we got room for a yellow tag, and they'll also start grabbing green tags to go with those assets. We'll try and keep everything centralized around the squad room. Okay. The other support equipment that's in here, if you can see in there, we have a pop-up canopy here, a table, 3 chairs, and then on the trailer with the UTV, we have a 14x14 pop-up canopy that's lit, so it can be lit up. So, any questions, send me a message, and we can talk it out. Thank you. Okay, so going real quick over the triage portion of this. Billy had to go someplace, so I'm going to take the acting part of this. I handed the triage 1 bag, which is marked red and yellow, to the person who's going to actually be the triage officer. So meanwhile, EMS Command is sitting at the truck, setting out the green tarp and green chem light if it's dark out at the front of the squad. So I'm going to walk up to where I have my casualties at, and the first thing I'm going to say is, hey, anybody who's in this accident, if you're hurt and you can walk, I want you to walk over to the front of that vehicle. Okay? So he's going to be a green tag once he gets up there and somebody's divvying out green tags. The next thing I'm going to say is, hey, if you're hurt, if you can't walk, I want you to raise your hand and wave at me. Okay, keep your hand up for me as long as it doesn't hurt you, okay? That, right now, so far, she's a yellow tag. That's not who I'm going to go to first. I'm going to go to the people who aren't responding to me. So I'm going to go over to this patient. I'm going to look at this patient. Hey, are you okay? Check for responsiveness, not responsive. I'm going to check for breathing. Patient's not breathing. Black tag. And there's tape in here to put around that, but we'll get into that later. Then I come over to the next one, the next red tag, because she's unresponsive. Hey, she's not responding, but she's breathing, so she's a red tag. I'm going to come down to this patient here. Okay, you're holding your arm up. Okay, so she's following command. I'm going to take, you can put your arm down now. I'm going to check her cap refill or her radial pulse. If I get a good radial pulse or a good cap refill, I'm going to look at her breathing. If she's breathing slower than 30 times a minute, she's a yellow tag. If she is breathing faster than 30 times a minute, she's a red tag. Simple triage. And I'll just take out these tags. Here's a black tag. She was a red tag over here. Her, I would just take this tag out and flip it from 1 to 2, which would be the yellow portion. Once I do that, I'll tally them up and get it back to incident command, how many patients we have of each category. The one thing I did not mention is, in the squad is a stop the bleed kit. Also in the MCI bag or the trauma bag is 8 additional tourniquets. The only treatment we do in this area over here is if I see somebody spurting blood, life-threatening bleeding, that's the only treatment I'm going to do. Notice how I didn't do rescue breaths on the DOA over there, the black tag. I didn't do rescue breaths on him. If she was unresponsive and spurting blood, as soon as I note the spurting blood, I'm going to put a tourniquet on. That's the only treatment we do in this sector, in the triage sector, is put a tourniquet on, triage them, get them moved up to those tarps. Thank you.